You mind?
I would say that ends one of these. I can't even read that number. It's in my page 19 at the very top of the page. Humble there. We can grow through it a little bit so that then when we come to the end, we're like, yeah, yay, to make it a little more forceful, I would say. A little more present would be great. Because like it's really solid, and then I would say around page 18, we start to get a little quieter. It sounds like a little more subdued, I would say. So just like keep it up through that page, and then if it does come back, bring it back up to a forte for the end. Yeah?
Okay.
I think we have the habit of for so long that ending was like challenging for us. And I think maybe that there's still some fear of like, oh no, what if I come in at the wrong time or sing the wrong, but you haven't done that in a really long time. You're very solid on it, so it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. Yeah, no, it's still the ending. It's great. There you go. I think that was this. Do we all feel good like this?
Yeah.
Yes? Thank you all so much. I know this has been a challenging piece to learn, and that you have to put in a lot of work, so thank you. And yeah.
It was worth it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
My pleasure. I'll remind you, just since some of you are late coming in, so you are not singing any hymns today. You have the day off.
I guess so.
You can focus on your anthems. And yeah, just come up before the reflection, and then after the reflection. Giving Horse River is first. Here's the song is second. So Giving Horse is before the reflection. Here's the song is after.
We sit down again after.
Yeah, you can sit down. Go for it.
But when you sing, we can sit down. Is that okay?
Oh my gosh, I miss it so much.
Oh yeah,
All is good? Do you want me to move
I
this
even
so it
have
doesn't...
Brent's gavel.
Oh gosh, do you want me to move this
No,
so it doesn't
that
fall out
is-
on you? Or
It
it's
was
good?
moved the other
Oh,
way
it was the
before.
wrong
This
way.
is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you, Deirdre. Nice to see you back here. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday worship at the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Susan, and I am pleased to serve as worship associate this morning. Whether you are taking part in this worship celebration from your home or wherever else you may be, and whenever you may log on, you are welcome here. We acknowledge that FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all who have ears to hear, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. Do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to keep in touch during this protracted pandemic. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And now, here is Brent Nicol from our board with announcements for today.
Oh, Brent, wait. Susan, I didn't tell you.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I didn't. 2 weeks ago, at the start of this congregation's annual general meeting, there was some talk about when Brent was, by vote, elected president of our church board, there was some talk about the gavel. It's been in my office. I might have presented it to the church's former board president, but I was a little scared to give it to Lisa. But Brent, I trust you. This is now yours. Use it wisely, judiciously, and well. Huzzah!
I promise to use this hammer in the morning. All right. Good morning, everyone. For board announcements, we have an AGM. That AGM is continued, part 2. This time it's serious. Today at 1 o'clock, you can find the link to pre-register on our website or in the EUU. You need to pre-register again to receive a Zoom link. And then click on that Zoom, you'll get that Zoom link emailed to you, and then you can log in at 12:30 in order to register as a voter. Voters and observers are welcome to attend. We would like you to log in by 12:30. That way we get everyone set up. Because of that setting up, there is no Zoom hospitality hour normally scheduled following the service today. But there's fun and games happening later today. If anyone wants to play Settlers of Catan or something similar, please check the EUU for details of Board Games Palooza starting tonight at 7 o'clock. More fun and games in 2 weeks' time. After service, there will be a barbecue. It might be called a picnic following service. Which will be fun. And then following that, there will be a tulipathon. You can help to support that or walk through the tulips. That's 2 weeks' time, Sunday, May 29th, starting at 2 o'clock. Those are the board announcements. You can reach me at president@firstunitarianottawa.ca. Now, Donna Bowen-Willer for our social responsibility.
Hi, everybody. So, more elections this week. Ottawa West Nepean had a discussion last night. Green Prosperity is a joint effort of a number of well-known environmental organizations, and they put together an action agenda to improve Ontario's environmental health. And from this, they've developed a questionnaire. And in the EUU and the Climate Action page, you can find a link to this. They asked all the parties represented in the Ontario legislature to respond. 3 of the 4 parties responded. The same party that did not respond, their person did not show up at the discussion last night either. Anyway, the link takes you to the answers of all these 3 parties, which might be very edifying, and it's all on the environment. So one more way to educate yourself and vote for the environment. Thanks.
Thank you, Donna and Brent. During the continuing pandemic, we encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU Bulletin, our weekly newsletter. Check our Facebook and Instagram pages and our webpage for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, though many of our activities still do take place online. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love and however you identify, today you are a part of our spiritual community.
Thank you. Bonjour, mes amis. Just before the service, I was standing out on the balcony looking out, enjoying the cool, rain-filled air, and a member came up to me, I won't name them, although I can thank Ann Nagy, and said, "Eric, you don't have to wear your sport coat this morning. I've been ministering for 25 years. Other than in July and August, no one has ever given me permission to do that. So, Anne, thank you. And for the others that follow suit, thank you as well. It is a humid day in Ottawa. Can I go now? Like it or not, I am the Reverend Eric Meter, this congregation's lead pastor. And I'm going to, do you notice how I'm deflecting now? Deirdre, it is so good to see you again. Welcome. You are always welcome here. I hear you may be singing along with singing for the hymns today. All right, all right. Wasn't that a good deflection? We light our chalice this morning to these words from the poet E.E. Cummings. Thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirit of trees and a blue true dream of sky and today's reality of welcome, welcome, welcome rain. Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. Thank you, Jen. And for those here in Worship Hall, please feel free to hum along to our first hymn this morning, Almond Trees Renewed in Bloom. If you are elsewhere or have a hymnal with you, this is number 95 in our dark gray hymnal. Deirdre?
I've never sung from here before. Trees renewed in bloom, do they not proclaim life returning year by year, love that will remain? Almond blossom, sign of life, see in the face of pain. it scars the earth. But the day when almonds bloom is a time of birth. Friends give thanks for almond blooms, swaying in the wind. Token that the gift of life triumphs in the end.
There is no better world, dear ones, than we imagine. The best still to be we carry in our hearts, our minds, and our tenacious wills. This comes to us from those who have gone before. They left their soaring dreams for us unfinished. Nor is it ours to complete their shining schemes. We add, subtract, and modify as best we can. When our limit's reached, we give to those who follow the work we've done, still incomplete. This is our world built. Thus is our world built, makes more sense. The heavens also, brick on brick, cloud on cloud. Somewhere in us, utopia seems encoded, glimpsed as through a shroud. Moses, atop myth's splendid peaks, saw distant lands he never reached. And we are here together this morning. Come, let us worship together.
Reverend Ellen Bell usually does our times of joy and sorrow. She reached out to me yesterday saying that she would not be with us this morning. She has tested positive for COVID. She's feeling run down, fatigued, but otherwise non-symptomatic. To honor moments in our lives of joy, of celebration, and of sorrow or challenge, we drop stones into water so that the ripples may spread. And so all these elements of our lives are recognized. Our first stone is for Ellen, for a speedy recovery. May she know our love and care. Our second stone this morning is for Margaret Zielinski, who fell and broke her shoulder. Again, a speedy recovery. And a stone this morning for Lisa Boulet's friend Henry, who died on Friday evening after a long struggle. Lisa and her husband raised their children alongside Henry and his wife's children. Ellen would also put a stone in for all those who are displaced in this world, having needed to flee their home in Afghanistan. Now, listen to me. I'm going back in decades, but still the case, isn't it? Ukraine, some now here in Canada, others elsewhere along the world, and we know these are not the only immigrants and refugees in the world right now. And a stone for all the joys and sorrows yet to be named that reside safely in our hearts. Let us share together in a moment or two of stillness and reflection.
Hi to everyone, it's Nao, your Director of Religious Exploration. I hope everyone's doing really great on this Sunday. Today the story I'm reading to you is titled My Garden, and it's written by Kevin Henkes. My mother has a garden. I'm her helper. I water, I weed, and I chase away the rabbits so that they don't eat all the lettuce. It's hard work, and my mother's garden is very nice, but if I had a garden, there would be no weeds, and the flowers would keep blooming and never die. In my garden, the flowers could change color just by my thinking about it. Pink, blue, green, purple, even patterns. And if you picked a flower, another one would grow right back in its place. In my garden, the rabbits wouldn't eat the lettuce because the rabbits would be chocolate and I would eat them. If I planted seashells, I'd grow seashells. If I planted jelly beans, I'd grow a great big jelly bean bush. Sometimes in my garden, good, unusual things would just pop up. Buttons and umbrellas and rusty old keys. In my garden, there would be birds and butterflies by the hundreds, so that the air was humming with wings. The tomatoes would be as big as beach balls, and the carrots would be invisible because I don't like carrots. At night, the morning glories would stay open, shining like stars, and the strawberries would glow like lanterns. It's night now. Only the fireflies and the porch light are glowing. Before bed, I take one seashell from the shelf in my room and I go to the garden. I poke the seashell into the ground. Who knows what might happen? I cover it up with dirt and pat the dirt with my foot. What are you doing? Asks my mother. Oh, nothing, I say, just working in the garden. I hope everyone enjoyed that little story. We have a pizza party for families after church in the fellowship hall, and any families that are interested in gardening, we have a meeting with a Jashki Monday evening at 8:30 p.m. on Zoom. Please see the EU for the Zoom link or send an email to the DRE at First Unitarian account. All right, have a great Sunday, everyone.
Thank you, Jen. Susan and I have two readings again for you, but before I offer the first, a thanks to our new music director, Jen Bernstein, and all the members of all three of our choirs who gave a fabulous concert here yesterday afternoon. It was the first concert we've had since the COVID years began. It was beautiful. Now, I normally sit there, and while I've been hearing how great the acoustics are in this room, from right there, they're terrible. But yesterday afternoon, I sat out there, and they're as good as you said. I thought you guys, were good, but I didn't think you sounded that good. Thank you, one and all. The reading I have for you is actually a prayer this morning, following the story that Nao shared with you just a moment ago. This is called Gardening Prayer, and it begins with a few lines from the poet May Sarton. And this is by, as the program says, Bob Janice Dillon. But a couple words from the poet May Sarton. Help us to be always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness nothing comes to birth, as without light nothing flowers. O Spirit of soil and sunlight, endless energy of growth, cycle of life and death and rebirth, God of small things and great, help us to be the always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit. Help us prune back our worst impulses, the parts of ourselves that can lead to endless hurt in others. Help us to trim back our greed, root out our apathy. If we find we are overshadowing someone else's growth by our own selfish desires, help us to lessen ourselves and make room for others. And help us to grow all the good things in our lives. God, we see around us so many examples of abundant beauty. We do not know if we could create such beauty on our own, but we don't need to. No. We partner with you, with the wind and the rain and the soil and the sunlight to bring beauty forth. So we are encouraged that we might participate in grace, that we might dig a little trench where the seeds of kindness may be planted. We know there is a time of waiting in all things when we rest in darkness. Sometimes that time of waiting can be days or weeks or even years. Help us to see the darkness's role in germinating new wonder into the world. Help us to see the small sprigs of joy and meaning that are struggling to rise from the ground at any time. Let us be gardeners of the Spirit. Let us tend to this little gentle power that has helped us become who we are and nourishes us always, even unto the end. In our daily acts, we strive to serve the growth of life and of goodness and of love. We are proud to serve and delighted to see that the natural magnificent that is our portion and our inheritance, the growth of all the good and beautiful things of this life. Amen.
The second reading is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. A person will worship something. Have no doubt about that. We may think our tribute is paid in secret in the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship, for what we are worshiping, we are becoming.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary, and I would like to talk to you about what we're going to sing, which is called the Kicking Horse River. And this is something that I particularly enjoy, and I'm glad to tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to read to you excerpts from a blog by L. Allen Weiss. The lyric of this song is based on a poem of the same name by the Canadian poet Pauline Johnson. The music is composed by Jeff Smallman. This song is strongly evocative of the power and personality of the Kicking Horse River as it cuts its way through the Canadian Rockies. The words conjured up the Taoist ideas related to the power and qualities of water, sometimes known as the water way. So he goes on explaining. Water reveals its qualities. And this is he's quoting from Tao, and water, the real spiritual lesson. Water is relentless and never stops exerting its force. When it is restricted, water seeks the weakest spot of any obstruction and applies constant force until it is free. When it is pressed or attacked, it changes form and repositions itself. Water does not complain about the path it follows, it simply follows the path. Water has a wide range of energetic expressions, but continues to be water. It can be still, it can be sluggish, it can be swift, it can be pounding, it can be vapor. When you compare the words and feelings expressed in Johnson's poem to the qualities of water, the similarities are striking. Pauline Johnson was no Taoist, but she was a First Nations person who lived in the late 19th century and on into the beginning of the 20th. So enjoy.
Its little fingers
Thank you again. Is there anything more beautiful than voices raised together in song? In December of my first year serving my first congregation, after a service where I scrapped my manuscript, the church treasurer, Richard Eady, said, "That 4-page handwritten note I left in your office, you don't need to read that." It was a letter in which he went in with great care and detail, said, "Eric, you need to get away from your manuscript a little bit. We need you to be present with us more." So today, while I prepared 20 pages of notes, they're whittled down to 2.5. I hope you're happy about that. Yes, we've got waving hands in the back. Francis, I love it. Some talks I can't write. I can only talk and listen. This is one of those. I plan to talk about the challenges of faith. Now, maybe that's a little bit of heavy lifting for this mid-May time we feel ourselves in. I like to think of that being the case. What's been on my mind over the last several weeks of slow, cool arrival to spring and then boom, summer, and then hopefully spring again, we'll see. I've been noticing that over the last weeks as I watch the news footage from Ukraine, that as much as I've been listening to the news, I've been watching what's going on in the background there in Ukraine of winter releasing its hold on the land there and of the arrival of spring there as well as here. And yes, I've noticed the television pundits with military expertise talk about how the ground needs to harden a bit more if you're going to really see a lot of tank, heavy armored action. We will see. We will see. And all of this, another reading from way back when, from E.B. White, the author of Charlotte's Web, if you know that story. I don't remember where he was when he wrote this, but he wrote lovely letters. His collection of letters is among the best literature I know, and this is a passage from one of his writings. It's hard to know when to respond to the seductiveness of the world and when to respond to its challenge. If the world were merely seductive, that would be easy. If it were merely challenging, that would be no problem. But I arise in the morning, torn between the desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. Does that resonate with anyone here? I see a few hands anyhow. Thank you, brave souls. I think of extended family members, good friends of my family, the loss of their 39-year-old adoptive son from the Philippines, Daniel. I knew him when he was 14, and just getting into that time where, being raised by white settler parents, he didn't understand who he was. He was Filipino, but what did that mean? He was white American, but what did that mean? Things are never as simple as we may hope them to be. And he died when winter was beginning to release its hold and the trees were in bud. The poet T.S. Eliot wrote in his epic poem, The Wasteland, actually he begins the poem, the first 5 words are, April is the cruelest month. I always thought that had to do with tax season. But I went back to the poem and reread it. It begins about a very dire turn of the promise. Bye, love. Bye-bye. And how life is hard, and the promise of spring just sets us up. Well, that's bunk. The promise of spring is real. No, we're not flowers. We last a little longer, I hope. A little longer. And I think of Lisa, whose family friend died the other night. She's been offering care and support for the family for weeks now. How do you have faith despite it all, knowing that the all has joy and sorrow and challenge and fumbles like Susan and I getting our parts a little wrong earlier, things easily forgiven and things not so easily forgiven. I talk about our faith communities being, when we're being what we need to be, places where we come together almost like a crossroads, where we share what we have found with one another, what has served us the most well. So if any of you would like to offer a thought or two about how you keep a bit of springtime in your heart, I'd love to hear it. I remember Albert Camus writing in one of his essays that there is a invincible summer in the spirit. I love that line. I love that line. And maybe it's my inner Eeyore, but there have been times when I felt that, but not as many times that that sense of summer in my spirit was invincible that I might like. I'm serious. If anyone has any ideas, thoughts, I will pass a microphone to you to share your wisdom with the rest. We've got another anthem to hear in just a minute, and I've got a little poem if we need it. But my talk to you today is not one of answers, it's of lifting up questions. Oh, we've got a hand. Carmen, I love you. What was the question? That's good. That's good. What do you find to keep a bit of springtime in your heart when things are challenging? And you can interpret that in any way you want. Carl, if you would, now in the States I could say play Phil Donahue. I don't know if you had Phil Donahue. Are we on here? We will be. Phil Donahue had a talk show host out of Chicago until Oprah came along. And Phil was famous for running around the seats, passing a microphone for the people to talk and ask questions to the speakers. So this is how I'm going to get my exercise today, by playing Phil Donahue. How do you find and keep spring inside of you? And if it has anything to do with Unitarian Go-Go's, shout it out. All right.
Well, for 12 years, we've had a spring. Oh, sorry. Okay.
That way the people at home can watch too.
So for 12.
Yeah, forget this.
Okay. For 12 years, we've had a garden plant sale. 10 of those years outside here, and 2 years down the road. And So I think of the energy and the new growth and the hope that people bring to buying a plant and planting it. And even before the plant sale, I start to plant seeds and do cuttings from geraniums. And people start talking to me about, oh, I want some herbs. Can you get me some herbs when the garden sale comes up? And we send the money to the Stephen Lewis Foundation. So the hope there is that it will go from the Stephen Lewis Foundation to 15 countries in Africa, to the grassroots organizations that will help the people there, mostly who are living in poverty. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? And I think it will be best, because we are streaming this, if you have a comment and want to come up front. I know that may be a hardship. Jane, what's it they say on the other talk show? Come on down.
I think I can do it. Can you hear me this way? Yeah. For about the last couple of years, I've tried every day, and sometimes I forget, but just to think of something I'm grateful for. And that really helps. And sometimes it's, I'm breathing today. And sometimes it's things like realizing I was born where I was. And sometimes it's getting to see my granddaughter or you guys or something, but anyway.
Thank you, Jane. As I said, we do have another choir anthem, so I am going to conclude with just two more little points. The first, don't need this again. This poem from one of my favorite poets, David Whyte, entitled Loaves and Fishes. I don't know when David Whyte wrote this, but it could have been written in any age as far as I'm concerned. He's still alive, so this is not an old poem. Loaves and fishes. This is not the age of information. This is not the age of information. Forget the news and the radio and the blurred screen. This is the time of loaves and fishes. People are hungry, and one good word is bread for 1,000. And I'm looking down at the flowers in front of the podium, extremely grateful for them. I have missed flowers in this worship space. And one of you, I think actually a visitor, a newcomer on Easter, said, "Why weren't there flowers? This is Easter. Why weren't there flowers up on the chancel?" And it hadn't even occurred to me. Talk about sin as missing the mark. I apologize for that sin. In the Unitarian society where my parents were married, there was a saying attributed as an Arab proverb, nothing more specific than that, which speaker or region or culture, specific culture, I don't know, but it said, if you find yourself with a loaf of bread, split it in two and trade half for a single rose. For as the bread will nourish your body, the rose will nourish your spirit. That's why we need springtime, because whose spirit doesn't need a little nourishing now and then? Thank you all, and I think we have the choir once again.
Our next piece today is Here's to Song, and it's a perfect choice, really, because it is an answer, this song, to the question that Eric asked, I think. What are the things that nourish us, and what brings spring and hope to us? So in the This is a piece about song, friendship, and community. The chorus goes, here's to song, here's to time, here's to both with friends of mine. Here's to friends who raise their voices high. Kings have riches widely lain, lords have land, but then again, we have friends and song no wealth can buy.
This congregation, excuse me, has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else at all, you are part of this community. To make a gift in support of the work of this congregation, you don't need to, sorry, this is jumping around. You don't need to use the baskets that will soon be passed among the pews. Wherever you are, you may go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. Sounds good.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, though troubles wait at every turn, oh, I know I can go on when sorrow heals my soul and burdens make me strong. The troubles wait at every turn. Oh, I know I can go on. My sister in my heart, my brother in my soul. The troubles wait at every turn. Oh, I know I can go on. And though the journey is long, the destination it's clear. The troubles wait at every turn. Oh, I know I can go on. So brothers, take my hand, and sisters, sing my song. When hope awaits at every turn, I know we will go on.
Another tough act to follow. Before we begin to close this time of worship and reflection, another reminder that as our annual general meeting will resume this afternoon, we will not hold our traditional hospitality hour today. And as we prepare to extinguish this morning's chalice, let us do so to these words by Jean M. Olson. In what form did the Spirit appear to you today? The blossom of a flower, the tug of a child's hand, the silent twinkling of stars earlier, an old woman smiling at the bus stop, a lover's gentle hug, a presence so close to your soul you could almost touch it. Words of truth formed unbidden in your mind. The holy is disguised in so many ways. May your senses open in recognition. This morning's chalice is extinguished at the spark of our connections, and faith remains. With that said, Jen and Deirdre, would you bless us once again? And if you would, reach out your hand, extending our care to those in this room and beyond. My friends, the rain will fall. We will be cooled. The earth is rich and fertile, and we are mostly the same. Go in peace, go in love, go bringing springtime wherever you may be. Amen.